Psalm 61, verse 1 and 2. And I'm going to read 1 to 4 so we can get a good understanding of what the scripture says. David was the one speaking here. He said, "Hear my cry, O God. Attend to my prayer." Don't take it away yet. Two contradictory statements here. The first line is my cry, but that cry is a prayer. It's the reason when you go through situation, when you complain, make sure that what you're saying is not a complaint, it's a prayer. When you are crying and say, "I can't pay my rent, I can't pay my school fees," those things don't make any difference. David was crying, but that cry was a prayer. Verse 2. "From the end of the earth I will cry to you. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I." To the same thing again in that verse. The first part, "I will cry to you." The last part, say, "Lead me to the rock that is higher than I." It's crying, but the cry is a prayer. What that tells us is that David said, when my heart is overwhelmed. You must know that David was a character who at some point experienced depression. That's why I said that he experienced, as close as it was to God, he also experienced the worst. When you get overwhelmed, it's a situation where you can no longer help yourself. It means that the situation has overtaken you. You lack ideas, you lack strength, you lack the vigor to take the next step. That's where David was. But you see, he realizes that life is not perfect and you're not going to have it your way all the time. That's why he said, "When my heart is perfect." David was such a Christian that didn't think that because I'm God's friend, there will be no when. We all are going to experience a when in our lives. But he said, when that time comes, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. For you have been a shelter for me. Whenever you come against a challenge in life, please remember, did God ever deliver you in time past? It's the reason why you must not throw your testimonies away, or when you are going through tough time, you should look for the lesson. Appreciate God in the little things. He says, "You have been my shelter. You have been a shelter for me." Have been is a past tense, meaning that this experience had happened before. A strong tower from my enemy. God, I have seen you deliver me before. Every time you come to a place where things are tough, remember your past victories. I did not say remember your past battles. Remember your past victories. And let that be the motivation that God did it before, he would do it again. For you, next verse, verse 4, which is the last verse in this book of Psalm. It says, "I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the shelter of your wing." Remember that this is a man who was crying from verse 1, who was overwhelmed, who was seeing that things were going not the way he wanted. I think that David gives us a very good example of how we should live our Christian life in such a way that when things are not going the way we want, we should run to God, not run away from him. Because sometimes when you go through challenges, you don't want to pray anymore. You don't want to pray. You don't want to do all those religious activity. But never let it take you from your relationship with God.